Hi there, um, welcome back. So I'm gonna be mounting or remounting my Drendrophylax lindenii today of Aka Ghost Orchid from Florida, or native to Florida. Um, Prior I had a really nice setup which I had mounted here, and basically just recreating a swamp-like condition for it. Um, at least the aesthetics of it, and while keeping it on the greenhouse with high humidity and all that, the conditions that the Drendrophylax lindenii likes. However, I've been noticing that for the past year that I have that seedling, the growth was very minimal. Um, Nonetheless, some of the meristems and the roots were pretty healthy and still green and growing. It only grew a few millimeters, so very slow growth. Um, and another factor that I was noticing is that the roots, instead of sticking or sticking to the wood itself, they were moving away from the wood. So that's a good sign that it really doesn't like manzanita wood. So after doing some research, I found out that a team in the University of Florida uses burlap fabric to um, to attach the Drendrophylax lindenii into it. So I'm gonna be using some of that. I got some today at the store, and this one, I think it's dyed, but I did wash it off with really hot water and let it soak for a few minutes just to get away to wash off a little bit of the chemicals and whatever comes of it, since this Dendrophylax lindenii is very sensitive to everything. So yeah, I just don't want to run any other risk, and yeah, it should be good to go. Another exciting part is that instead of the manzanita, I'm going to be using this beauty right here. This is a skeleton of a bull cypress. A friend of mine had a bull cypress bonsai forest, and that unfortunately didn't make it, but he ended up, with a bunch of these beautiful trees, or trunks with, beautiful roots, very particular of the bull cypress, beautiful, elbows, and yeah, so it will be perfect to mount um, the Dendrophylax into it. And however, since this is the natural wood in which this orchid grows in Florida, I kind of, since I found this other research about using the burlap and noticed the difference in growth rate, so I'm gonna still attach it to the burlap, and if it attached to it, great, and if it's attached to the wood, even better. But at least I think attaching it to the burlap first, if I wanna, I don't know if I wanted to move or I wanted to get it out, I think it will be easier instead of just trying to get it out of the attached wood. So I think for the first couple of years, using the burlap will be great. So for the mountain itself, so I'm going to be using the bull cypress tree, which I have already washed off, sanitized. I have to take a lot of the secondary and tertiary roots, because it was huge. It was a pretty established bonsai when it was alive, and yeah, I mounted or cut it so it fits. So I think I'm gonna be using, that will be the front of it, kind of diagonally. So yeah, and I'm using this aluminum, so like a tinfoil base, non-perforated, obviously, because it's gonna be filled with water, just to give the aesthetics of a swamp. And this is pretty rotten resistant, so I'm not concerned about rotten wood in the long term or short term. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty awesome. I'm really excited. On the top, as you can see, this is basically, it's probably about almost 2.5, or, yeah, probably like almost 3 feet tall. So I'm gonna be probably, yeah, cutting a little bit of this secondary branches. But anyway, I have some Tillandsios neoides, or Spanish moss, which I'll be hanging on there and also Tillandsia recurvata, which is another species that grows in Florida. So I'm just gonna be attaching those into here, probably some moss, you know, just to give more aesthetics of the, probably here on the trunk, aesthetics of the swamp, and that other tiny cute fern that came with the manzanilla. I'm gonna try to save it and trying to stick it somewhere since it's pretty adapted to the swampy conditions that that it was in the previous mounting. So yeah, I'm gonna take you along throughout this process, and yeah, hope you enjoyed. I'm also gonna be using this river stones. They're pretty big and heavy, just to give some weight to the base itself, and probably to prop up a little bit of the tree, and to keep it onto place. And then to fill up the smaller pieces, I'm just going to use this smaller gravel, just to cement everything into there. I think that was the setup I used in the last time, and it worked pretty well. So yeah, so that should be a lot of fun, and yeah, I can't wait to see the final results and share it with you guys. Okay, so stick around. Okay, so first I'm gonna start by placing, I think I'm gonna use this bigger rock in here just to prop. It's kind of flat, so I'm just gonna use it to prop the main skeleton or the main root. Let's see how. This is basically a puzzle. There's no right or wrong. It's just make it fit kind of situation, and just most likely we're just looking for stability. So I think that is the base. I might need another one down here. You just play with it. Just a little puzzle. So I think that's a good height, which I want. Looks pretty nicely. I'm prompt once it's filled up with water. Maybe a little too high. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's a little better. I think that looks a little better. And then just need a one in the base, just to kind of prep it up. And I think the roots themselves, you know, is so big that the roots themselves are kind of helping to keep the whole trunk into place. So what I'm gonna do now is, like with this other bigger rocks, I'm just gonna try to fill up as much space in between to kind of weigh down both the base and try to lock in the trunk into place. Which I may be needing, let me see how is this looking so far. I think I'm gonna need more of the bigger rocks, because I feel like to make it very interesting looking. Let's see how's that holding up. I think that's pretty good. Okay, wonderful. I think that's the first part. You know, using the big rocks. We need another rock right here. The idea is just to keep this as stable as possible, and it may shift a little, but overall you want a sturdy base. You know, you don't want this to be falling off, and that's certainly something that once mounted, it's not going to be, you're not going to be picking it up as much, I hope. Well, I'm not. I guess it's sort of heavy, so. And basically you don't want to be messing around. So I think that feels pretty sturdy. Let me give it a shake. Yeah, so I think that's pretty good. Now the next step, which I'm gonna be doing, is just filling up the spaces or the rest of the space where this gravel. So that's what's gonna do is just cement, and basically fix the bigger rocks into place, and it's also create a little bit of a more kind of swampy look in the bottom. And I'll try to show you. I may need more of this gravel. For some reason, I think this is the same amount that I used for the prior mount, and I think let's see. Yeah, I need some more gravel. I'm gonna give this a little shake so everything kind of settles in. Okay, I think I need a little bit more gravel, but yeah, I'll be right back. Let me go get that, and I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. So I got some extra river stones. Just because there's a few places here that I can use to actually just secure the base a little bit further, and also like allow for some of these bigger rocks just to show, because as you pour in the water that's going to be stagnating here, you get to see a little bit of the kind of the bottom of the swamp or the swamp floor. So it's kind of fun just to see some big boulders in there. And I also got this bonsai gravel, or soil basically, and yeah, which has some more of a tan color to it. And I'm gonna use that to just pour on top. And this has more of a kind of sand color, which is fun. Also makes it look a little bit more real. I like to give it a little shake so everything settles down. So as we continue working with it, but that's all we want, all the spaces in there. This is the front of it, so I need to use the stone here to pop it up. For there. Okay, this one's perfect. And you have to kind of play with it until you find the right. Yeah, still continue playing with it. So let me see. Continue pouring some of this. I will show you from my view here, so you get to see a little bit of the look that I'm going for. Actually, it looks very nice with this secondary roots, like floating roots. It's gonna be wonderful. Fill up those spaces in there. Wonderful. So let me show you a little bit of the way this looks. Looks very nice, nice setup. You see, I like, once I put the water in there, you get to see a little bit of those big boulders in there. Once the sediment settle down, it will be great. It truly, in terms of the setup itself, it doesn't, this doesn't have to be either super clean or super sterile, because at least for the standpoint of the Drendrophylax, because the Drendrophylax is not going to be touching this water or anything. If anything, the water that collects here is the water that will be accumulating from when I water the Drendrophylax itself, so it should be all good. This looks pretty balanced. Oh, I break that. So yeah, so I think pretty soon I'm gonna be moving into the greenhouse, just because I left the Drendrophylax in there. Yeah, just to start mounting everything. I'm gonna probably start with I'm gonna do the Drendrophylax last, but I'm gonna start mounting the rest of the plants here: the ferns, the Talentia recurvata, the Spanish moss, and yeah, as I'm doing that, I'm also gonna be just trimming some of this and just see what it looks nice, you know. Okay, so I'll see you in a little bit. Hi there, welcome back. So I'm actually back in the greenhouse, so everything, I'm gonna try to speak up, but because both of the fans are on and the humidifier is on, so I'm just gonna speak up. So yeah, here it is, basically the setup in, this is where basically it's gonna live. This is facing the front, so it's, yeah, you're seeing the front of it. For the burlap, I think I've chosen this area right here to mount the Drendrophylax lindenii, since it has a tendency to grow down. So I'm going to be doing that. I also brought some water to fill up the container to give it for the look. And also I'm going to be attaching some of the Spanish moss, which I have here, and I have a ton. I have a whole setup here just to grow for the greenhouse uses. And here's the little baby, the little seedling lindenii. It's small, however it's very healthy, and I just noticed it's starting to shoot new roots, and I think this is what prompted me to actually do the remounting now, so those new roots start, you know, like with a good place to stick on. Let me show you really quick before I move forward. This is the manzanita piece of wood that I used to have it before, and this is the small, this is very big, the new guy. But this is the fern that came with it. It's a miniature fern, super lovely. I'm going to try to save it. This guy, I don't know what that is. It's just like a wild plant, and it kind of grew this big. It looks beautiful, and I'm going to try to save it. I don't know how well it will do, but I'll try to save that in some of the natural moss that has grown here, that it was already there. I'm going to try to transplant it as well. But yeah, I think I'm going to start by just pouring the water, and this is just tap water because it really doesn't matter. You don't need to use, I only use rainwater, which I collect. I use rainwater to water the plant itself, the orchid, but for the setup, it's just basically any water, it's fine, and it should be fine. The plants that I have there, they're really not particular about the type of water they enjoy, and with time, you know, they'll be consuming fertilizer from the one I pour into the orchid, you know, they trickling down, and that's how they feed and they thrive actually. So I have another fern here, which I really don't know the species of this fern, but basically I had it because I bought this. I think it was from a garden store, but I had it on soil, and I still have it here. But one day it just occurs to me that just to see whether it would be adaptable to water, and it happened to be that it did. It did adapt it to water real nicely. So I've been using that in this setup, and I have it in one of those little plastic containers with holes on the side. Let me show you. And it's just filled with moss And I think I put a little bit of gravel in there and soil just to give it a little bit of more substrate to it. But it's been doing very well. It's grown a lot, and it's stayed pretty healthy so far. So I keep it on this basket just to give it a little bit more support. And it doesn't, I mean, it grows, but it doesn't grow wild. So I'm just gonna, it's easier for me to keep up with it, or and just keep an eye on it, on the growth. So I'm just gonna start placing the plants wherever I think, that will give that swampy look. But I'm sweating because the temperature here, it's nice, the temperature, but the humidity is pretty high right now. So yeah, I'm going through it just to show you guys. So I'm just gonna start placing some of those plants. I think that looks pretty nice. I have a carnivorous plant actually that I just bought at the store, and it's just an experiment just to see how it does in this kind of setup. And however, they do enjoy rainwater or RO water, fertile water. But I mean, I'm just giving it a try, and it's doing pretty well. It's blooming, so I don't know if that's just because it's dying or it's just, but it's doing pretty well. It has new growth, so I don't think it's fully unhappy. So I have this Spanish moss, and I'm just gonna start kind of draping it. This is the way it grows in nature, and in Florida it's pretty much wrap up. I was just recently there, and it's wrap up in pretty much in every single branch, just like this. So I'm just gonna imitate a little bit of that, just to give that a bit of swampy look. And I'm just gonna be generous with it. I don't think I think I'm gonna cut eventually some of these branches that are facing forward, because I just don't want to pluck up my eye or anything, but I do want to keep some of these branches just for, to get some of the Spanish moss in there and hanging. I love that look, very tropical, very swamp-like, which is gonna kind of add on to this whole experience. So yeah. So I also have, I've forgotten, I have the Tillandsia recurvata, which is this other herb plant. Let me show you. This one has a bunch of seed pods, and I have the smaller ones. So I have to find a good place to place these. I think somewhere, I have a bunch of them, so I think I'm gonna just play with it, like this is the fun part, you get to design and play as many fun things or plants that you can imagine of. I think I'm gonna need more Spanish moss, which I'm gonna grab from this back here. Just keep on draping some of that. I think some back here, which I'm gonna keep short, because where I have the camera is where I usually keep this setup, and I'll show to you how it looks after, once it's fully mounted. But I really want to leave some space just to move around. This probably is gonna go, this little branch. Or actually, I have this lichen that came out with the other mount. I don't think the lichen is still alive, but I think it's a great swampy look, just to have it hanging like that. Just to have it hanging from somewhere, and I think that might be a good placement for it. Let me see, probably here actually. I think this is a better branch. Just have it something like that. And that looks great. Just wrap it around a couple of times just to secure it there. Yeah, that looks like a swamp to me. Let me see. It's kind of hard to experience it from the front, but I think, I mean, I will have to keep on working with this and keep on, and I will show to you the final product. But I think I'm just gonna start. I will finish mounting the rest of the talentuas because it will take a little bit more time. Let me show you the carnivorous plant, which I don't know the species of this plant, but if someone does, please comment. This is the little buds right here, and I think I want to keep this. You know, they like to be in a wet spot, but not too. I mean, yeah, this is just a whole experiment. So I'm cheering for her, and I hope she does well. So I don't know where I'm gonna put it. I need to figure it out. I think I want it to be here, like showcased. This is kind of nice. And I like to keep them in those little cups, even though you know you can see the cup, but it doesn't matter. I just want an easy, you know, an easy way to kind of, if I had to manage the plant, you know, an easy way to get it in and out of the setup without having to kind of for them to be so you know, like damage the roots or anything like that. It's really contained in that one pot. I think this little fern, because I have the other fern that I really want to mount, probably somewhere back here because it's so pretty, or somewhere here. Yeah, so this other big fern I'm just going to put out here, just to balance the carnivorous plant, and it's still deep enough in water. Here we are. So I'm just going to attach the burlap into the wood itself using just clear tags. I thought that would have been the easiest way to actually manipulate and adhere or attach the burlap into the wood, and to make it as good looking as possible. That's who I am. I really enjoy the sense of aesthetics, and yeah, for things to look nice and pretty, why not? You know? I'm just going to start pinching this out here, and I kind of want it tight, quite tight, because I want it to be as flush possible to the wood, so it kind of blends in with the wood, even though, you know, it's a burlap, so you can obviously see that. But yeah, I think it's possible to make it practical and yet beautiful. So I think that's pretty much attaching there. I'm going to continue doing so here in the bottom. Going to do a little fold here, just to make it look a little bit more nicer. This is the thing with the burlap. If it's true, what I researched, you know, that they mentioned that the roots attach much better to burlap than just to bare wood for some reason, and allows the growth to be faster. Then, you know, it will be nicer if I wanted it to repot this. If I wanted to repot it, I just can remove the burlap, and you know, the damage to the roots themselves will be less. So that makes sense to me, and that's what I decided to give this a try. I never done burlap before for any orchid, to be honest. But I think the fact that I really love the Drendrophylax lindenii, and I love the fact that I can provide the conditions to it. Yeah, I really want to give it a try, and I really want to give it an opportunity to be successful. You know, even though it's such a finicky species, a lot of people say that it's destined to to stop existing. You know, because the conditions in which it thrives and enjoys are so specific. You know, not even in Florida, it's kind of hard for them to thrive. So I'm doing my best, and yeah, I think that's what we all orchids enthusiasts enjoy about, you know, growing orchids. So just for the possibilities of kind of keeping these babies alive, and yeah. So I think that looks pretty well. I just put 3 tags on the back, and it looks pretty nice, pretty neat. So that will be the surface of the growing surface in which I'm going to be attaching the Drendrophylax there. I'm going to be using just some fishing line with it. Ooh la la! This humidity, I feel like I'm in Florida. It's very intense. But yeah, but I kind of want to do it now because, yeah, I really don't want to wait any longer. So I think I'm gonna, for now, yeah, I need to start moving these ferns and see, like, very gentle with it, and the moss. But I think for most part this is, you know, let me show you. Yeah, so here we are. I'm just giving you a different, I mean, this is the frontal look of the whole mound. This is the base. As you can see, I've already filled up the container with water, and the water starts filling it up. Well, you get to see the rocks and the gravel, like the sand colored gravel, which is very nice. It looks like it's still a little murky, but once it starts settling, it will look very nice and clear. This is a carnivorous plant. I have that fern. I have another fern which I think I'm gonna place. I have no idea, but I'll play with it. I think somewhere back here. I don't know. We'll have to balance it, or out here, because it's so pretty. I really want to showcase it. I might put some moss out here in the front. I have the lichen. You know, this is going up. I have the Neoides. This is where the Drendrophylax is going to be placed. And I have this whole thing up here, which I don't know. I think I'm going to cut most of it. Or not. Let's see. It's just going to look very rambunctious if I fill up the whole thing with Spanish moss, but it will look more realistic. I don't know yet. There's a lot of decisions to make, and I have Tillandsia recurvata, which it's also native from Florida, or it grows in Florida, but I have to play with that just to see where I'm gonna place it also, so it looks kind of natural, and yeah, it looks awesome. So far I'm really loving it, and yeah, we'll give you an update once I finish mounting all the plants, and once I place it on its final destination here at the greenhouse. Well, thank you so much, and yeah, I'll see you in a little bit. Hi there. So here we are once again back in the greenhouse. It's the day after I finished the repotting or the remounting of the Drendrophylax lindenii, and I wanted to show you guys the final product now. As you can see, this is the aluminum base that I used in my prior mounting or setup. It's just a galvanized aluminum based, so I'm not worried about rust or anything of that nature. As you can see, I think the water in the pond or the puddle has settled, so you get to see, you know, the gravel in the bottom. It looks very kind of a swampy look, and it also helps that this cedar, it has this beautiful aerial roots and elbows that really makes it look like you're looking at a swamp. As you can see, some of the plants that I have hanging on or sitting on the water is just basically this little fern right here, which I had it attached, or it came with the other mounting that I have, which it was a manzanita piece of wood, and somehow it grew in there. I didn't see it at the beginning, but it has grown to this size, and it's a wonderful miniature fern. On the other side, I have this other fern, which it has adapted to water, and I have them, both of them, in little baskets. So basically, if I need to repot them or do anything to them, I can easily manipulate them, or change, yeah, just work with them more easily without the roots being so deeply into the gravel of the setup. I have that little, there's a little Pilea peperomioides that appear there. I don't know how, but they truly grow like weeds, and it's been doing pretty well, or it's grown in the other setting. It has remained there, and this is a carnivorous plant that I got at my local supermarket, and it was not looking very well, and right now it's producing a flowers and buds, and it has grown significantly since I put it here. Even though they like purified water, and I know of somewhat wet conditions, it's been doing pretty well submerged in water like that. And yeah, let's see, I will give you an update. Just to keep on moving further up, I have some fern here, which it was also attached to the manzanita wood, and I was able to transfer most of that and just attach it with some fishing line. I don't know if you're able to see it, but I attached it there with fishing line, and as I go up into the setup, I have some of the Telangias recurvatas that I placed here, that they're native from Florida as well, so I think it added to the whole vibe of the swamp look. And a bunch of Spanish moss, or Telangios neoides. This is another Telangia that I have found, that I had here for a while, and I found a little baby like that, so I think it was a good spot for it. And here it is, the main star of the whole setup. We have the Dendrobium lindenii, which, as I mentioned before, after doing a little bit of research and noticing the growth of the ceiling that I had for the past year, I noticed the growth was kind of stale. And even though you see some of the meristems are looking pretty healthy and green, and the health of the overall plant, it's okay, it's well. However, it was growing very slowly, and it was not attaching to the wood, so I decided to take a different approach. And after doing some research, I found out that a group of scientists have used burlap in trying to grow this orchid, and successfully it has grown very well for them, so I wanted to give it a try. This burlap I got at my local fabric store, and as I explained earlier, I did wash it with hot water and submerge it just to get rid of any possible harmful chemicals, or just to wash off a little bit of the chemicals coming off from the dye. But yeah, it was pretty much scalding hot water, and I left it hanging in there for a while and washed it off, rinsed it off really well before putting it on here. As you can see, I have attached it in the bag with some tags, so it's easily removable. If the plant end up not doing so well and I need to transfer it somewhere else, it will be a lot easier to remove. Same if it grows very well and it start attaching to the burlap, as it has done for other people, then it will be as easy to remove as well, because it will be attached to the fabric, not to the wood itself, so I don't have to take the chance of damaging the roots as I'm trying to move it out. And as I'm moving up here, you get to see the top of the cedar, which is this trunk, which actually I'm very curious to see whether the roots, once they grow past the burlap, they'll start attaching to the wood, because this is actually the wood that they will attach, and they're really you will find them in their natural habitat. It's on cedar, or this type of cedar. So I'm really curious to see whether once it grows past the burlap, it starts attaching to the wood itself. So I will have to give you an update of that. And this little thing right here, it's a little sachet that I prepare with Osmocote. It's a slow release fertilizer. So every time I water the plant, I did it this morning, but I can show you really quick. I don't have, let me see what I got here. This is some rainwater that I collect, and every time in the morning I come here, you see I spread the Osmocote and allow it to kind of wash off the plant, so that at the same time it gets its daily fertilizing, and yeah, and it looks pretty happy. So I'm really excited to see that makes a difference. It gets here pretty good lighting throughout the day, not direct light at noon, but it gets morning light, it gets afternoon light, so it gets plenty of light. Humidity, as you can see right now, it says 86 in the greenhouse, so that's fairly high. And I have good ventilation, so I'm not worried about the rest of the plants. I grow pretty much intermediate plants, and that might be too high for now, but winter is approaching, so whenever I turn up the heater, that tends to go down a little bit, and yeah, during the day it tends to go down, at least down to mid 60s or 70s. So yeah, it stays relatively in a good range, in a range that I feel comfortable, in a range that the plants I don't have any issues with rot or bacteria growth or anything of that sort with high humidity. And I grow a lot of miniature orchids. Let me show you here. I have a lot of miniature orchids that really appreciate the humidity. I have some other Kilokistas, which I want you to see. I think this is the same issue I was having with Drendrophylax lindenii. Do you see how the roots start moving away from the mount? And I think that's a good sign that I need to kind of take a different approach with this. Even though this is a cedar plant, it doesn't seem to like it, you know. Like, I think somehow I've seen a lot of people growing this like in plastic mounts, and or yeah, like not organic mounts or cork, but yeah, somehow it doesn't like it. So I think I'm gonna try the burlap fabric on this one as well. And I have another one here, but this one it's battling for its life, but it's truly it was a little seedling I got, but I see new growth. It has new roots coming up. I have a Barcaria here that it's in spike right now, so I'm really looking forward to that. It's Barcaria palmieri, and I have some other good species around, and I will show them to you with time and in different video. But this video particularly is about the Drendrophylax lindenii. I'm super excited to share the final product. Let me take a look back. This is the whole setup. As you can see it, I really wanted to recreate that swampy conditions, and having that water also creates more of the humidity, but I think the overlook aesthetics of it was accomplished, and I'm very happy with it. So if you like this video, yeah, just like and subscribe to my channel. I will try to post more videos about the care and updates of my orchids. So yeah, I wish you a wonderful week ahead, and take care. Happy growing.